been reading Paper Towns for a long freaking time. And I'm really trying. I was trying to get halfway before updating you. I'm close to halfway, but I'm updating you now. I'm on page 122, 123, and I'm bored. I'm so bored. I think it's mainly because I've seen the movie, so I know what happens, therefore I have nothing to root for. I don't feel like I have anything to root for in this book. Like, I don't really now, like, besides, like, I don't really know what the point is like me telling you it's not similar to Fangirl. We already knew that. What's the point of me reading this book for a video? It's boring. I don't like it. I told you I wouldn't like it. If people thought I was gonna like this book, I wasn't. I'm sorry. I don't like this book. Not that there's, like, anything wrong with it. Like, there's nothing, like, there hasn't been anything that, like, makes me hate this book. Like, I'm bored. I don't care, and that's why I don't like it. Like, there's not, like, something that makes me so mad, and that's why I don't like this book. Like, there's nothing inherently wrong with it or anything like that, and, like, I think that people, like, I understand why people like this book, and I think, like, I do agree with, like, now looking back on it, like, when I, like, saw the movie and, like, had opinions on, like, things that happened, like, I get why I was mad in the moment, and, like, but I totally understand why, like, and I think those things are good now looking back on them, but it was not the story I wanted, if that makes any sense. I think those are good things, and I like the realism and realisticness of this book. I know the ending and whatever, but, like, I also think that that's not the book I want. That's not what I want to read about. I'm just really bored the honesty of the whole thing is that I'm bored and I don't care. I like our main character. I like Margot. I like the friend group. I like the characters, but I can't make it through a bunch of pages. Like, it's been taking me forever to get to page 123. Like, I've been reading this book for, like, 2 weeks now, I feel like. I don't know what to do about this. I think I'm just gonna, like, come back to it. I think I'm gonna read it right now before I go to bed, because my other book that I just started is downstairs, but, like, it's getting to the end of January, and I have to figure out how I'm going to finish 3 books within, like, a few days, because the thing is, tomorrow night I am free, because I am not going anywhere. Thursday night I am busy. Friday night I'm free, but, like, that's the last day of the month, so I'd have to finish all of Paper Towns in one day, read another book on Friday, and then I don't even know if I'd finish it by the end of the month, which kind of sucks. Though I read it on February 1st, I could, and just, like, tell you in my TBR video, hey, this is on my TBR, but I already read it, kind of like I did with Almost Midnight, because I want to finish this before I upload my wrap-up in TBR, so I could always do that. My goal is February 1st to get all of the books done. I mean, like I only saw the movie once, too. Like, it's not like I saw, like, a bunch of times, but, like, I saw it once, but once was enough to make me really bored reading this, and I just don't care. I'm just reading it. That's what I'm rooting for, myself to finish this book. It's so hard when I just don't care. Nothing wrong with this book at all, whatsoever. It's just not for me personally. I knew that going into it, that I wasn't going to like this. You all knew going into it. I told you that I wasn't going to like it. I finished the book. Yeah, I did. I finally finished the book. And I'm so happy I'm done with Paper Towns. Have I ever been happier to finish a book? I don't know. The thing is, I wouldn't say this is, like, a bad book, because it's not. There wasn't anything I really hated about it. I think mainly because I'd seen the movie first, and John Green adaptations just seem to be super accurate, that I didn't like this. I think it had been a more nerve-like situation where the movie and the book weren't that similar, then I think I would have been more interested in this, even though Nerve took me forever to read too. I don't know what it is with adaptations. They just take me a long time. But I gave this a 2 out of 5 stars. I don't think anyone's surprised. I knew going into this wasn't the book for me. I wasn't going to enjoy it. I never had any intention of reading this book after seeing the movie, as I was kind of disappointed with the movie, but that's because that's the storyline. So I think as a book to movie adaptation wise, I think it's a pretty good adaptation, but I am going to rewatch it now that I have read the book. I started skimming the last, like, 200, let's say, like, to 120. I think I started skimming the rest of the book because I was like, I need to finish this. It's January 31st when I'm filming this. I've been reading this book since January 16th. So this is a long time for it to take for me to read a book. I'm glad to be done with that. I liked the parts with Margot and Q quite a lot. I enjoyed those. I liked the ending a lot more than I did originally, I guess. I think that was like the only part I think after when I was skimming through it that I was like, I'll read all of this because I was actually interested in what was going on. Because I think a lot of like the whole middle chunk of the book when you're trying to find Margot, I just didn't care. I didn't care what was happening, what was going on. It was all just really boring to me. I might have found it that way, I think, too, if I had read this book beforehand. I think I still would have found it boring. I don't think that makes it a bad book. I see why people appreciate it, and I think it does a lot of good things. But personally, I knew it wasn't for me. This book was recommended to me because I read Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, and I loved this book. Do I think this is an accurate recommendation? No. I think if you loved Fangirl, I think that you should be recommended something involving fan culture and stuff like that. Like, this book is a lot about fan culture and, you know, introverts and nerds and cute love stories. It was nothing like Paper Towns. These two books are completely different things. I don't know if Q is just, like, similar to Kath in some sense, but not really. I don't think they're similar. It's been, like, quite a few years since I have read Fangirl. And I never reread this book, though I should. I would love to do that. I loved this book when I first read it. I think I'd still love it again. But I think these two books are just not similar. I don't think I would recommend Paper Towns if you liked Fangirl, or the other way around. I don't think I'd recommend Fangirl if you like Paper Towns. I think other things would come to mind first for both of these books before recommending you that. Like, if you like Fangirl, I'd recommend Cinderella by Kelly Oram, because that's a book that talks about fan culture and is a cute, adorable love story. Maybe I'll pick up another John Green at one point. Not now. Done with that for a while. I have started Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. I have found the audiobook for Shadow and Bone. I am currently on page 47. It's good so far, but I still got quite a ways to go. I'm listening to it on 2x speed, which is making it a lot faster. I'm currently reading Shadow and Bone. This is due today, so I'm going to the library today, so I need to finish this before I go there. I'm halfway through it, a bit more than halfway, like 1% more. I'm on page 184. And it's good so far. I want to see more Mal. That's my big complaint. I want to see more Mal. Because, like, she's all talking about how, like, oh, like, Mal probably doesn't care about her the way she cares about him, which I'm pretty sure he does. I'm pretty sure there's a love triangle between Mal and the Darkling. Because everyone talks about how much they love the Darkling. So, but I love both Mal and the Darkling. But she's like, oh, like, he's never writing back. Like, he doesn't care about me. Yada, yada, yada. But then look on the back here. It's like a lost letter from Mal. So I'm comparing it more to Red Queen than I am the Rainbow Boys. Like, it's about a girl, been raised normal, human, or whatever, finds out that she actually has powers, gets, like, forced to be at the palace and deal with those kinds of stuff. Like, isn't it like this? And they both come from, like, poor stuff. Like, it's the same book. I don't think it's anything like the Rainbow Boys. I think the whole reason I love the Rainbow Boys is because of the characters, and I think it's more of a Six of Crows thing, as a lot of people love the characters in Six of Crows, and like had a kind of a gang of characters. It's just like has like one protagonist, so it doesn't really give you the same feel. So I feel like Six of Crows would have been more accurate for this, so maybe once I read Six of Crows, I will compare it to the Rainbow Boys, and I will tell you if they are similar. I'm pretty sure this book's becoming a TV show, if I'm correct. I'm pretty sure it's like a Netflix show or something, so I'm excited to see that. I'm going to go read more of it now as I eat my bagel that I got from Tim Hortons that I'm excited to eat. Let's show you my cute dog. Isn't he adorable? This is Teddykins. I probably showed him a lot. Well, I call him Teddykins. His name's Teddy. But he's a cute little dog, isn't it? I have now finished Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. I read the whole thing today, basically. I think I read like the first 40 pages yesterday, but like I read most of it today. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I was interested the whole time. I didn't want to stop reading it. I loved it. I'm so picky with my 5 stars now. Like, it has to be, like, top tier, my favorite book, one of my favorite books of all time. It was really good. I really enjoyed it, and I was surprised I liked it more than Red Queen, because I didn't think I would. Wrap up my thoughts. Is it like the Raven Boys? I liked this book, but would fans of the Raven Boys like this book? Again, wouldn't be my first recommendation. I don't think this would be I'd still probably recommend Endless Summer from Choices as a book recommendation if you like the Raven Boys more than this, to be honest. I feel like they're different. I don't think it had, like, you love the characters. I found Alina to be one-dimensional. Mal, not as much, but I think slightly. I want some more character development with these characters. I feel like the Darkling was, like, the only fleshed out character, and he wasn't my favorite character. I loved Mal. Mal is my favorite characters. I really like the romance between Mal and Alina. It's a friends to lovers thing. So I was so excited about that. But I did really enjoy it. I had a fun time reading this book. I am excited to read the second one. I put the second one on hold, so I will be getting that at some point here. I found the world, like, really simple, which I really appreciated, just because that's easy for me to read. Like, I don't like high fantasy with, like, magic systems, like, I think that are, like, super complex. Like, I think that's super cool, but not my kind of fantasy. But again, I would recommend it for fans of the Raven Boys. I think this is what I said in my review. I will say it again. If Shatter Me and Red Queen had a baby, this would be it. It takes, like, the love triangle from Shatter Me, and it has the, like, it reminded me very much of, like, basically all the events that happened in Red Queen happened, I feel like, essentially. I feel like they're, like, I love them both, and there's no shade on it, like, Red Queen at all, because Red Queen was written after, but they seem like the same book, not gonna lie. I think I would recommend, I think even before I recommended you the selection for Red Queen, I think I'd be more likely to recommend you Shadow and Bone if you liked Red Queen. Also, does the Darkling have another name, or is he just the Darkling? But yeah, I finished that book. I am now 50 pages into Love Letters to the Dead. This is a heavy book, which I knew going into it. It's hard to read because the tone of it is so depressing. And for those of you who either have, I don't know if you've watched my channel for a while or what, but something about me is I don't read a lot of heavy, darker, contemporary. I read a lot of light, happy, fluffy stuff. I'm a pretty happy, upbeat kind of person. I think that's just what I like to read about. I love to read about things that make me happy, and this is just making me sad. A lot of feelings, which I think is the point. It's not something that should make me happy, which makes it so hard when I'm trying to, like, finish a book in, like, a night. So I don't think that's gonna happen just because this book is so heavy. This isn't a book that you just kind of binge read and read quickly like a Casey West book. Like, it's not one of those books. Like, I think it's still good, and I'm not saying it's not. There was a part, I don't know if it was supposed to make you uncomfortable or not. It made me uncomfortable. But I don't know what the tone of it was supposed to be. Like, it was fine up until a point, and I don't know if I can get into it for spoiler purposes. Without spoiling it, someone tried to kiss her when she didn't want to be kissed, and then she ran away. That's all I'm gonna say. That's, like, the least spoiler I can get into that. I don't know if the people she's hanging out with are gonna be toxic for her. I feel like that's where it is kind of going, is that, like, the people in her life aren't a good influence on her right now because she's going through a lot of crap. For her first, like, high school class assignment, she has to write a letter to a dead person, so she starts writing it to, so that's kind of the whole book, is, like, it's told in a bunch of letters to, like, dead people. Like, we have Judy Garland, it was the main one I know. I don't really know the other people. The way it's written, it's really hard for me to concentrate or want to continue reading because it's heavy. Sometimes she's talking about, like, stuff that's going on in the present, and sometimes she's just reflecting on something and talking about it. So I think that's hard for me to read, and it's not like a book that's making me happy. And if we're comparing it to Better Off Friends, which this was recommended to me for, because there was a bunch of Spanish books, and this was the first English one that came up. Which I guess you guys didn't actually see that portion, because I was editing it, so you didn't see me, but I found a bunch of Spanish books for Better Off Friends before Love Letters to the Dead came up. Comparing it to Better Off Friends, I think Better Off Friends is so much more lighthearted. So I think these two books have a different tone. They're not similar, but we knew that going into it, that these books were not similar. I mean, you got Better Off Friends is about a best friend relationship, and this is Love Letters to the Dead that includes toxic friendships. I'm pretty sure that's where it's going. I'm pretty sure that's what's happening here, that these people are going to be bad influences in her life. I mean, they're already influencing her to do things, and I don't know if it's the best idea with the mindset she's in. I am currently loading my videos from this vlog into my editor so I can get that edited and uploaded for you guys. But the plan for today is to finish this reading vlog, so I am going to finish Love Letters to the Dead today. Currently, I'm trying to find all the videos that go into this because my editor is just, like, frustrating. I'm on page... I haven't really read a lot since... My editor was having a lot of issues last night, so I didn't end up editing last night. But I'm on page 53 of Love Letters to the Dead, so I don't think I've done a lot of reading since I last updated you, but that is where I'm at right now. So, going to continue reading this while I wait for all my videos to load, and then I'm going to edit them, and then once I finish editing them, then I'll get back to the book. Okay, so this isn't really an update, but I just, like, loaded all my footage in my editor. I still have more to upload because I obviously have to upload this, but it's, like, 2 hours long. It's, like, 2 freaking hours long of footage, and I'm still uploading this stuff, so it will be over 2 hours. So I got 2 hours to edit. I don't think I've ever had a video that is that long in footage. So this is fun. I have a movie for you guys to watch. Enjoy. The Emily movie documentary. I haven't read anything, but I had a random comment in my head, and it's true. But I'm more likely to recommend somebody Shadow and Bone if you liked Better Off Friends more than Love Letters to the Dead because, you know, Shadow and Bone had a friends to lovers relationship in it, so I'm honestly, like, it's funny because I'm comparing, like, all the books I'm reading to other books that I just read. Like, I compared Shadow and Bone to Red Queen. I feel like the only accurate recommendation I got was Red Queen for the selection, but all of the other ones haven't really been that accurate. So well, I don't know, it's been a couple days, but my retainer just fell, that's fun. I've read more, not really a lot. I'm only like page 60 of Love Letters to the Dead, but I've just been doing some thinking. Maybe it's because it's late at night, and this is probably a bad idea, because I tend to go off to rambles at this time of night. Sky's been kind of introduced, which is, he's the love interest, and I don't care. It's so hard for me to want to pick up this book, because I don't generally want to, because it's something that makes me sad when I read it. It's not something that, like, makes me happy. I'm starting not really to care for the relationship. I'm starting to care for the characters in general. The relationship seems like it's going to be really cringy, so I'm not really here for it. I also have a theory about, like, I can't really go into detail on what it is, and I'll let you know if it happens or not, but I have a theory that's, like, kind of dark and twisted, but I have a theory that it's gonna be revealed about something from her past and her grieving and stuff like that. I have a theory with that, but I'm not gonna go into it because spoiler purposes, and I don't know, my mind kind of went there after a line, and I kind of hope it's not true. What I'm finding interesting about this whole experiment is, I've mentioned to you guys probably before, one of my favorite genres, or the genre I reach for majority of the time, is probably contemporary books. I had 2 fantasy books on my TBR, and what I'm finding fun, and I had 3, the other 3 were contemporary. What I'm finding funny about this whole thing is the genre I don't really reach for is, like, where the books that I liked most out of this whole thing came from. I'm finding it interesting that the books that I was recommended for contemporary I liked the least, and I'm kind of disappointed about that, I guess, but I found some fantasies I love, which has gotten me back into my love for fantasy. I'm 100 pages into Love Letters to the Dead, and I don't like it, which is really disappointing. I put it on, like, the top of my list, I think, because, like, it was contemporary, so that's why I thought it would be the top, which is what I'm finding weird about this experiments is, like, the books that are out of my comfort zone in genres I don't like are the books that I'm enjoying the most. This book's been a struggle to get through, I think, because, first of all, it has a really depressing tone, and that's the big thing. I feel like this is a depressing tone, which is just not something I like to read about. I find a lot of the characters really one-dimensional. They all kind of bother me, in a sense. They just don't really have a lot of characteristics to me. They're all just really dull. But this book just, all the characters are, like, kind of characterized by this one thing. Like, the main character seems to be really sad. So, like, that's her big characteristic, is that she's sad, and that, like, the way she speaks is just kind of sad. And that's kind of all she is she's, like, a sad girl going through problems, and that's her characteristics. I think the writing style is also taking a toll on the storyline, because I'm bored a lot of the time and I just don't really care. The book's also, the way it's written, I feel like with the letters also takes a toll on the story because it's just making it not as interesting. Like these parts where she like writes a letter to like a famous dead person, but like we really don't care. Like she talks about how great they are or they were and stuff like that, but like I don't care. I think at the beginning it was like interesting and stuff like that, but like after a while I just didn't care anymore. I think I'm gonna try like mainly, I'm not gonna read as in depth. I won't skim a lot, but I'm just not gonna read a bunch of description all the time that I just don't care about. Like, oh, Judy Garland was so great because she did this. Like, I just don't care anymore. I really don't care. I have finished Love Letters to the Dead. I gave it a 2.5. So I'm disappointed, obviously, as I predicted this one being my highest rated book. I thought this one would be my favorite just because the two other contemporary books that were on this TBR, Paper Towns I wasn't excited about, and I didn't know what to expect with a Wattpad book, and so I wasn't sure there. This one sounded the most like something I might enjoy. I was like, it's a contemporary, I like contemporary. Point is, this was not. I'm obviously disappointed. This book was a whirlwind. I stopped caring at one point, and I was like, I think I liked Paper Towns better than this. I was starting to question it. I liked this better than Paper Towns. I think I haven't really rated a lot of books this low in a long time, so that hasn't been fun. I'm not enjoying a lot of the things that I read for this video, which is kind of upsetting. I loved some things and I didn't love other things, which I guess is just how experiments work. My theories were all wrong. That's a good thing. There's no, like, bad relationship. I think the relationship was toxic emotionally, but I wouldn't say, like, that this is a warning to that. It's not. I think the way that the book handled the relationship did it really well. Like, it's not abusive, if that's what I'm saying, and I'm not saying, like, either of the characters, like, who were involved in the relationship, like, did something that was, like, necessarily wrong. It was just like, this book is not healthy. They're not, this relationship is just not healthy to continue for them at that point. Trigger warning if you're interested in this book, that it deals with rape, it deals with suicide, it deals with abuse. I was surprised actually about the relationship, to be honest, because I found myself actually liking Sky at one point. At first I didn't really like it at all, because I found the relationship to be insta-lovey, and I was just like, I don't like insta-love. Then, I really liked Sky. I think I liked Sky more than I liked Laurel. Not surprising, I think I liked mostly all other characters besides Laurel. But I found him, like, actually really sweet and supportive and loving, and I really liked that about him, and I liked that he, like, listened, but, like, he was just, like, he was also really mature, which I really appreciated, like, compared to, like, some of the other characters in this book. I liked the friends and stuff that was going on there. However, I still don't agree with what happened at the beginning, because I never really, like, the thing that made me, like, uncomfortable and stuff like that, and, like, that I was frustrated about, it didn't go in the place where I was expecting, where I, like, thought, like, these friends were gonna be toxic for her. I thought I was gonna be toxic, but I thought they were gonna be toxic, they were gonna get her into bad things, it was just gonna be a bad time. That's not where the story went. The story went, they were still friends after this whole thing, and it was more about stuff that was going on between two of the friends. It was still problematic, no one apologized for it, and no one got over it, and, like, I get, like, the characters were intoxicated when it happened, but it's still not an excuse. If you wanna, like, actually see what I'm talking about, I don't really want to spoil everything, because I feel like I'm going to. I did write a full review, but it's on the spoilers thing, so I will link my Goodreads review down below, so you can check it out if you want to know exactly what I am talking about. I think we talked about mental health in a really good way, and I enjoyed, I guess, that, I don't know if I enjoyed that aspect, but I also really felt like this book could be 150 pages shorter. It didn't need to be as long as it was, and I wish it ended sooner. I feel like especially like the last chunk of the book, it was just like we knew everything that happened, we knew where she was, she kind of accepted it, and then it was just like, the ending was just like dragging on. It was just like the author did not want to end this book, so she's just dragging it on, kind of how it happened with like the Jock's blackmail. I felt like it was just like, oh, this happened, like, it's not like a jump necessarily, but like, it just dragged after that. This book can end now. It's done. It's told this story. It's made its purpose. It needs to end. And it just didn't. Like, there was, like, some random plotline about her aunt and, like, this guy she liked or whatever. But, like, we didn't need that. We didn't need it at all. Like, it was just, like, for one scene, and that was it. I'm like, we don't need this. I think a lot of the things that did affect my enjoyment of this book was the fact that I wasn't in the mood for it. I think my younger self would have liked this book more than I do now. I've also kind of learned I just don't really like hard-hitting contemporaries. I've learned I just like stuff that makes me happy, and that's what I'm more likely to reach for, is, like, my happy contemporaries, which take up majority of my shelf. I will reach for, like, a Casey West book because those books make me happy, and they're light and fluffy and wonderful. Same with Elizabeth Yule books. They're light, fluffy, and wonderful. So I'm more likely to reach for that. I think this book, if you're in the right mindset for it, then go ahead and read it. I think it's a good book in that sense, but if you're not, don't pick it up. You won't like it. That's the end of my thoughts. I'm done talking about this book. Overall, let's recap this experiment. What did I learn from it? Is Goodreads accurate with recommendations? Overall, no. I think if you like this thing, it's not as accurate as it used to be, because I think it used to recommend me, like, hidden gem books that I'd never heard of before, and that's why I really liked it. Sadly, at this point in time, they have somehow changed it, and it's really annoying whatever change they did, because I don't think the recommendations are as accurate before, because, like, when I looked at Fangirl and it was like, oh, you also would like this, it used to give me, like, a different book, like, about fangirl culture and fangirling and all that kind of stuff. It was, like, this nerd, it was about, like, a nerd, and then, like, she falls in love and stuff like that. Like, that would have been such a more accurate recommendation than Paper Towns. The only accurate recommendation I got was Red Queen, because I think, like, though I would recommend a different book, honestly, for Red Queen, I do think that the selection is a solid recommendation. If you like the selection, I definitely think you would like Red Queen. I think that was a solid recommendation. I think there's a lot of similarities between the two books, so I think that recommendation was accurate, though I do think there's more similar books out there. I think that is still a valid recommendation, and, like, you would recommend it, like, the selection if you liked Red Queen. But I think Goodreads did this a lot of things without being accurate on that part. Like, I think you just have to do a bit more digging. When you look up books on Goodreads, there's, like, lists, and you can, like, try to find, like, it will list tropes that were a part of this book that you can find in other books. For example, if I look up Better Off Friends on here, I mean, one of the recommendations, for example, with Better Off Friends, I feel like the thing is, most of the recommendations were either in Spanish or I'd read it. On the Fence was a recommendation I got for it, which I feel like actually is a way more accurate recommendation, and if these books were in English, maybe they would have been accurate. But On the Fence is a more accurate book, obviously, than Love Letters to the Dead. But the thing is, I wanted to pick up a book I hadn't read yet. But then you find some other lists, for example, YA romances between friends, or when friends fall in love. And so, like, it gives you lists of things that have those similar qualities that you would want in a book. Like, for example, if I read Better Friends, I'm probably looking for a best friend relationship book. Well, there's lists on Goodreads that do have those tropes, and you just have to find those tropes. Like, it's like, oh, well, I like this from this book, and there's probably, like, a list with those tropes on it. So, maybe if I did this again, I should do more searching on Goodreads and seeing if I find books with similar tropes, and would I recommend one over the other. To conclude my overall thoughts on these books, I'm going to rate them. I've rated them all, which you've all heard my rating, so you probably know which is my least favorite and which is my favorite, but if we're gonna still talk about them. And coming in at number 5 on my list is my least favorite book. I DNF'd it, and that is I Sold My Soul to the Devil for Vinyl's Pitiful. I know. I kept saying the title wrong multiple times in this video in multiple different ways by saying vinyls instead of vinyls, and I'm sorry instead of pitiful, I know. I don't know where that came from. Coming in at number 4 on my list, we have Paper Towns by John Green. And my third least favorite, because I all 3 of these books, was Love Letters to the Dead by Ava De La Ria. The next book, which is my number 2 on my list, Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. I think if you liked Red Queen, I really enjoyed. It was a fun time. It was the first book I read, and I loved it. I give it 4 stars. Great book. Final recommendation, we're going to talk about Shadow and Bone, which I gave a 4.5, and it was my favorite book that I read. It's not a new favorite, I don't think, at this point, but I actually really did enjoy this book. I found it funny that I enjoyed the fantasy books more than the contemporary books. That made no sense to me, but I was like, okay, cool, alright. So there you have it. There is my thoughts. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to see more content like this, I definitely plan on doing more experimental videos like this. I think this one did have a point to it. I don't think other ones are going to have as much of a point and a learning process and stuff like that. This video took me so long to film. I've been filming this for over a month and I'm done with it. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a big fat thumbs up and subscribe for more content from me. I will see you guys soon in a new video. Goodbye!